You mentioned meeting Cher. When was the first time you met Cher? And when did it shift to like, okay, this is a thing that happens. I know Cher a little bit.
Does anyone
We
know
had a shift ever.
I know Cher.
The beautiful thing about Cher is she's fiercely loyal to those who love her. So her best friend, Paulette, has been her best friend for 40-some years, 50 years. Her mother is still alive and is her greatest confidant. Her sister is by her side as her best friend, and I believe her manager. Her house is tight and close, and they protect and love each other, and I really honor that. So by no means would I take the liberty, I don't think any of us would, to use the word no. I first met Cher Halloween of 2017. How was your Halloween 2017? So trick or treat.
When does Cher?
Yes, so it was a rehearsal studio on 42nd Street. It was a very small fluorescent lit room where we had to be Cher, for Cher, sitting closer to me than you are right there. And it was terrifying and yet very satisfying at the same time, because you're presenting a story that you're praying she accepts and loves and can watch for not only entertainment value but also for emotional collateral. And we'd see her tear come down, she'd hold her hand of the person sitting next to her, and we knew we had touched on something. Subsequently, we all got a really beautiful, like, week-long, 3 days, I should say, in Chicago, and that was a next step, right? So now she's coming backstage and she's hugging us and giving us little pieces of information when she's hugging us through whispers, and we're getting lots of notes via our scriptwriter and via our director and via our producers of what she would like to see change personally and in the way we're making her be presented on stage and also through the material. Then we get to Broadway rehearsals. She's busy as all get out because that woman doesn't stop. So she's off, promoting.
Making that ABBA album, that's amazing.
Amazing.
So good.
And then I would say about 2 weeks before we open, she shows up, and it truly is a Cher intensive workshop. It's through work, it's through personal time. She and I are now at this beautiful, I don't know what else to call it, but a relationship where, we are speaking to each other via email, and it's really special. Yeah. Well, again, there she is seeing her life, she is seeing her loved ones' lives being portrayed up there, and she wants to get it right. And who can fault her for that? So even at the 11th hour on opening day, right? So we're about to open our show on December the 3rd. We're still on stage at 3 p.m. rehearsing a new scene with that doesn't happen, okay? That really is not the norm for a Broadway show. But Cher's there, and Cher says, I need this to happen in order for me to feel comfortable and this living, breathing person to feel comfortable if and when he ever comes see the show. You have to respect that. This is their life that we're presenting. So we do the work to make her feel safe, to make her feel proud, and Cher is a truth teller. So if she didn't feel safe, if she didn't feel proud of what we were presenting, she would tell everybody, and that's what we have come to love about her. There is no bullshit with Cher. So there couldn't be bullshit on our stage 8 times a week at the Neil Simon Theater, and that didn't happen until 4:30 p.m. on December the 3rd. And that's what we needed to embrace and accept. And here we are. I mean, Chaz Bono came just last weekend, and that was another sort of monumental day for us, because again, I have never met him. I finally did, but the mama bear kind of came out in me, and I said, okay, I know this, all that has been checked off by our writers, producers, directors. I know we are being respectful and loving, but I had to go through again in my head and hit all the places where he is mentioned, and how are we doing that, and are we respecting his life, his journey, his love of his mama? How are we doing that? And so I don't think that's ever gonna stop. Anytime one of those beautiful, living, breathing people walk through those doors, we're going to kind of regroup and kind of be infused with this, my God, they're all still here, and that we need to portray them in the highest regard.
I was going to say, so many of Cher's iconic looks, as we were saying. I mean, the whole show, 600 costumes. The amount of quick changes are insane. I think on your vlog it said something like one costume change average, not actually, but that there's an average of a costume change every 26 seconds throughout a 2.5-hour show. What is your favorite one to wear? A, because it's the most fun, and then your favorite one to wear because you feel most like whoever it is you are on that stage.
The most fun to wear for me is the Mohawk look when she presents the Academy Award. And why it's so much fun? Because I don't have to do a damn thing. You literally come up from the stage, the people see the top of the horshair Mohawk, the applause happens, and I don't break a sweat, and it's one of the biggest applauses I've ever received in my entire career. Again, thank you, Bob Mackie. Oddly enough, or interestingly enough, when I feel the most Cher is when I'm in a white t-shirt and jeans and I'm standing on a stripped down stage.
Yeah.
For
audition for Broadway.
Correct, yeah. It doesn't have the bells and whistles, but somehow to me that is the essence of who she truly is, yeah.
Because Cher herself, not just her life story, she was on Broadway, for those of you who don't know. Super cool. All right, who else wants to share a costume?
I really like, because it's also part of it's really putting like, hey, this is what we're doing in our show. We're doing crazy costume changes, like from one very strong look to a very completely different strong look, and it happens on stage. It's right before the big giant Mackie parade. I have this scene with Michael and with Mackie, and I have this beautiful white beaded gown that we call the under boob dress, and it's just one of the most gorgeous things that I've ever put on, and it just, anyways, when you wear a gown that is like bias cut, that has been made just for you by Bob Mackie, and it's covered in thousands of little glass beads that people hand sewn on, you will never experience anything else like that. I've kind of been ruined.
You will also
for
live
clothing.
at the gym, I imagine.
Yeah, and you go to the gym, because it's the under boob dress. It literally is like straps barely covering my nips, and like just, like the skirt starts just right where you're like, is that gonna be scandalous? Oh no, there's a skirt, okay. So I go from that, and it's on stage for 2 seconds, and then I turn around and change on stage behind a little mirrored rack with some beautiful, wonderful cast members.
Hi, boys.
Yes, hi, boys. Yay, Blaine and Mikey. Anyways, they're playing dressers, and I change from this gorgeous beaded, shiny, shimmery white gown into this feathered cowboy chaps look. I literally have chaps with white feathers, and a crop top and a cowboy hat and gloves with feathers hanging off of them. And I don't know what's going on, but it literally is transformative, and you're like, yeah, that's what Cher did. She would go from this look to this, and it encompasses so much of who she is, the whole gamut of like her style and the characters she plays in her life.
I think my favorite is The Beat Goes On. I had this gold number, and I think it's because in my first fitting, he was like, that number was actually written 3 days before we left for Chicago. And we were trying to figure out what to put in this Act 2 pick-me-up spot. And I remember our writer wrote this and put it in front of me, and we were reading it, Michael and I. And we were like, yeah, this is it, folks. Like, we found it. Like, this is it. This is amazing. And I went in for a fitting for it very last minute because we needed to figure out what I was going to wear in that moment. And he was like, well, we don't really have time to make you something. So I pulled a vintage Mackie out, and we'll see. And we put it on, and I was like, it couldn't have fit better, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I'm wearing like this vintage Mackie like offhand that he like grabbed in his closet. So I'll forever like love that about that dress. But yeah.
And that's really interesting too, which is not normal. I have a costume fitting next week. We've been open for over a month. I still have a costume fitting. There's a few things he wants to change. There are a few pieces that are Mackie originals or things that are Cher's that I'm wearing on stage. And she wants them back. So I've got to go in a day next week.
So
and
what I'm
still-
hearing is I need to go back because there's changes in the dialogue, in the costumes.
Much like Cher,
there's not enough
it's
Cher.
it's always evolving. Yeah, it's always evolving.
Michael, you were telling me on opening night a little bit about what it's like to play Rob in terms of, you talking about, Matthew, you talking about the contrast of it, how you feel like you're in contrast to almost the whole mechanism of the show, that things just shift once that relationship enters.
Yeah, I think what the Cher show got so right, especially from Chicago to New York, is they just found its style. And I'm listening so intently here, and I'm having epiphanies right now, but it's so true, and it's relatable to when you meet Cher. Like when you meet Cher, like Stephanie was talking about, you're almost like backing off because she is such a huge thing, and you just get sucked in more and more and more, get stripped away. She's still the same person. And I feel like now you just spend a night with Cher. Even the Camilletti stuff is so different now. We met in a club in Chicago, and then I helped her with Moonstruck, the script, and then we went to the Oscars together, and she won her Oscar, where we started out in the music video for I Found Someone. And it's the same essence of it, it's just different text, right? And like you're saying, like you don't need all that text to endow all of that stuff. And Cher came into my dressing room to talk to me about Rob, just me and her. I was sweating, she looked beautiful. And I was like, do you want to sit down? She was like, no. And I was like, I'll sit down. And so I sat down, and she stood there. And like Stephanie's saying, it just gets deeper and deeper. There's so many directors who are just like, go deeper, go deeper. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I get it now because it means so much more. And I think that's what we're finding now. So, my personal relationship, it was a challenge for me, especially, I'm 28, and and I actually am a huge fangirl of Stephanie J. Block, so... I found out I got the job and I was like, who's Cher? Oh, you're kidding, Stephanie J. Block. Like freaked out a little bit. So my challenge was, the notes that I kept getting from Cher and the directors is Rob's so grounded. He was the adult in the relationship, right? And I feel like a little fangirl with Stephanie J. Block. So my work was really finding my power and my strength. And Rob actually helped me, Michael, find so much groundedness and my confidence that I'm the youngest of 6, so I'm usually just like grasping for people. But this job has really helped. She raised her hand. We're gonna.
But I have to say, by the end of this beautiful marathon, and he and I finally get to share the stage, and it is you and I for a good chunk, he is physically holding me up. He is silently with his eyes holding me up. You are a great center for me, and there are times where I am very tired, and this one is taking the brunt and leading me along, and I will screw up lines left and right, and you know I make stuff up, you know I do. Sorry, Rick Ellis, but by the end I'm just like hamana, 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 and he's with me, and it is really a flow that changes, but you are the adult by the end of that play, so thank you. He's blushing.
You guys got that on camera? So you guys...
We actually had a question from Twitter, from Allie on Twitter, who wanted to know about keeping yourself intact through such a strenuous show. How do you preserve the voice? How do you preserve yourself emotionally? Especially, doing someone else's voice.
I'll take this one. I'm in 23 minutes of the show, so it's really...
Ready, girls? 1, 2, 3. Fuck you!
Love you.
I think I'm still trying to figure it out. I'll be really, really honest. I've been blessed that I know what big shows feel like and big roles feel like. This feels different in the sense that it is really an emotional go, because we do start at 6, we end really present day. You say 54, but really we end where she's in her 60s, and we've lived through a lot. And that last chunk is very emotional, and I do find myself breaking down every show. It doesn't have to be fabricated because the exhaustion is real. The backstage life is very physical as well. If you saw the choreography, I know we keep going back to that, but it unlike a lot of shows where you can sit in one costume, wait for your next entrance, and then put on some, like, comfortable huaracha shoes. This is not what this is. As soon as I'm off stage, or any of us are off stage, we're running to the next costume change. I laugh, but at one change, I've got 8 people, and they're saying, wig, check, dress, check, shoes, check, arm, check, Oscar, check, go. And it is a thing. It's a real thing. So I'm still trying to find that balance. I'll be real honest. I sleep as much as I can. There is no, hey guys, let's party. Not for this girl anyway. I mean, I would love to with this company. They're exquisite people. I wish I could hang with them, but as a wife, a mama, and wanting to do the best I can on stage as long as I can, it is a true balance. And it sounds silly, but this one is very athletic in the sense that, my wig weighs 4 pounds. I wear wings that are 25 pounds. At any given moment, we're hiking around with an extra 40, 50 pounds on our back. So, she's tired.
We didn't even talk about the choreography, both backstage and onstage from Chris and Kelly. I mean, Michaela, you're kicking your face. This ensemble is living. I mean, it's amazing. I want to end on this note. I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from the Cher show was about a woman coming into her power. And was seeing how much she fought. We think of Sunny and Cher and, not just the early years when she was fighting, but that she was so successful alongside him. And I learned that that was not, I hate to say it, but it was not shared. It wasn't. It was, her name was on it, but she was not earning what she had rightfully been entitled to. And that line about I've been fighting all my life just, hit me to my core. So we'll leave on the note of what is it like to play the woman coming into her power, to be around this story of a woman coming into her power, and then how has that empowered you?
I feel that saying coming into her power is very interesting. I feel that she's hit her power many times, and somehow the world, as it has a way of doing, wants to strip anyone who has found their power of their power. She has never allowed that to happen. The outside eyes can say, wow, she's not at her most successful. That doesn't mean she's lost her power. I feel her power always comes from, I'm coming back, and I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my fans. Something happens, she comes right back. I'm doing this for myself, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, complex story because she is the most resilient. She never gives up, and one of the final lines of the show is, you win some, you learn some. And that woman is still open to learn. And as silly as it sounds, she puts her voice out there for social issues, artistic issues, human rights, and every now and then she may trip on a word and she's the first to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it in that way. And that, to me, is what makes her so powerful, is that we get to see the flaws and the stumbles and the being stripped of your power, and yet this woman is not going to stop because she decides when she gets to stop.